Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Ruck Up Buttercup. We have a really fun chat today with another military spouse. She is an advocate for military spouses, specifically on her end, it's the Navy. She is Reyna Worthy, and she has got her own podcast too. So not only are you going to hear this episode from us, but you're going to hear us on her show. So make sure that you guys do check out her show. Reyna, you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you both for having me. As she stated, my name is Reyna Worthy. I'm the founder of the Desk of a Navy Wife, and that's where I help empower military spouses through career aspirations, self-care, because that's important, as well as just military life overall and the different challenges we face. On the podcast, I like to help military spouses share insight and their own experiences with us so we can be able to support each other and know what resources exist. As far as personally, I have been a military spouse for 11 years and I have two littles in my family as well. And so they've gotten accustomed to the moving and the changes. We may touch on that a little bit. As far as career wise, I've definitely juggled different roles and I work as a government contractor now. So I used to help service members that were getting out of the military, help them on their career aspirations. And that's really what helped me to hone in on helping military spouses specifically. So that's a little bit about me.
It's so fun. And we thought that we had so much experience on today's podcast that we would kind of dive deep into how military life has changed us for better or for worse. So like we're going to dive into some topics. Some topics we're not going to get too deep in because I know we've talked about it so many times on this podcast. I'm sure Reyna has talked about it on some of her podcasts. So we are going to hit on some of those topics, but there are going to be ones where we hit a little bit more. But I think this is going to be a great episode because even though for better or for worse, like some things like in the moment, it feels awful. It's the worst feeling. You're like, how did I get myself here? And then when you look back, you're like, that really shaped who I am today. That really helped me be a better person. So the first topic we're going to talk about, because I know we've talked about this before, and I know I struggle with this. I know Sabrina struggled with this. I'm sure Reyna has too, but our changes in identity. How has being a military spouse changed our identity? I know for myself, I didn't see a big change because I grew up military. I have always had that military aspect to who I am, who my identity is. But it wasn't until actually I met Sabrina that I was just like, dang, like I have nothing to show for me. Like I have nothing to say, like, this is who I am. This is not what I want my legacy to be. This is not how I want to be remembered. I want to do better. I want to be better. I want to be a better person. And that's kind of like how I got involved with deployed love and all that kind of stuff, was because I was like, I need to find me. I need to find myself again, not just the military spouse, not just a mom, not just a military brat, but something that that's still a huge part of my identity. Don't get me wrong, y'all, but I can at least state now that I have so much more that I personally feel that I offer to other people. So that's our first topic. So identity. So how do you guys feel it has shaped or changed your identity?
Ooh. So Rena, do you want to go first or me?
And I guess my thing is I didn't grow up military. Like my dad was military, but it was well before we existed. Like he was like, real young. And so I didn't know anything about the military. Like I didn't have an identity that had anything to do with it. But now, even with Dustin being out of the military active duty range, it still completely is my identity. Obviously, deployed love is why, but like I cannot imagine a life where we aren't interacting with military members on a daily basis. And like as we were talking about with an extra guest that we had recently, I was like, I would love to find a job that does support veterans, like something that would be, I feel like that is what is my calling, because I have friends who are veterans, and so many of my friends are veterans because I grew up with my husband's friends. Like those were my friends, and I want to be able to support them. And I see them struggling through job issues and see them struggling with depression. And like, I feel so strongly for the military community. Like I know that the struggle is real, and then there's so many people in the real world who don't get it. Like they just don't understand why people are going through the things they are. And it's changed me a lot to realize like the military isn't political. Like this is a job, and it's people and their lives and real life things going on. And it it just being part of it does change who you are, I guess. Just being able to realize that like there's so much more to it than just hoo-ah wearing the uniform type stuff. So
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's that bridge between navigating of being the spouse of to being
Mhm.
your own person. You know, you can still be a military spouse, but you can also say like that I don't want that to be my whole identity. And I think
Right.
it's very different for spouses who are their service members are only going to be like 4 years to compare to career spouses like ourselves who have
Mhm.
had their spouses. I mean, my husband's been in for 17 years. Like that is a huge part of our family identity as well. So like, you know, but it's okay to be like I'm not the spouse of Sergeant so and so. Like I am myself and this is what I do, and you can be loud and proud about it. Like be like do that, but at the same time don't I feel like I see people will go and say like don't make that your whole identity. Like and I do feel strongly about that. Like find something that makes you you because then you will feel like that is your only thing. Like you're just a spouse, military spouse. And that can be very what's the word I'm looking for? Like not isolating, but very lonely.
well, in the sense of all three of us, you can make it your identity. Like obviously we
Right.
all work within organizations that are still heavily focused on the military spouse. But you get to do your own thing. Like we are doing it because we love to do it. Like
Yeah.
this is my
Right.
passion is military. Like that is
Right.
why it's my identity still. It's not just because my husband was in. He's out now. Like I can
Right.
completely move on and that would be fine, but I don't want to. Like
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
my passion.
I feel like for me, it's a part of my identity, but as you said, it's not the whole. I didn't know anything about the military prior to meeting my husband, but I was in college. Like when I met him, I was a senior. I was getting my degree in criminal justice and psychology. So I made sure I still honed in on some type of understanding and supporting people that were, whether they were in the military or not. And it just shifted me a little bit more to helping service members, but that was just something that happened through my journey. And it helped me with that passion of still being able to help people, and specifically now military spouses, because that is the community that I'm constantly around and wanting to be sure I give back, because I've always wanted to give back in some way. It was just, who are my people? Who do I want to give back to? I worked in nonprofit as well, so it was, how can I cater this and shift it to someone I'm constantly around? So yeah.
I think that's a great subject into like our next section where it says like
Mhm.
you know how has your perspective had changed over the years, because I do feel like a lot of spouses will go in and I was like, oh, I can still do everything that I want to do in a career, like as a career and things like that, and you can, don't get me wrong, there are so many spouses out there that have careers, like they are doing everything that they can, but it is very very hard to have those careers. There's a lot of sacrifices that you have to make as a family, whether that is geo-batching or however the case may be. But you know, having that like thought of like changing your perspective, like, you know, I went and going like I really want to do this, but then I was like, but you know what, like if I think about it, I don't think I would have been very happy in that career field if I had gone down that way. And that's only because my perspective over time has changed. You know, I have been able to do a lot of other things that I never would have had the opportunity to do because of the military life. I would have never been able to live overseas. I never would have been able to meet the amazing community that, you know, Deployed Love is and all the other people. So like you know, I think having that adaptability to change your perspective, and don't change it because like you like you just feel like you have to, but like find the parts that, you know, make your life a little bit better, I guess is the best way.
Well, and I
So like
think being a
more
military
supporting the small
spouse,
stuff.
it comes with so many skills. Like we
Yeah.
gain a lot of skills. And so why not use those things that we've learned just from being a military spouse and
Mhm.
shift your career to focus on those things. Like I know we've had a guest, I cannot think of her name right now, but from Colorado Springs, who she chose to continue to support the military by becoming city council member because she knew that that actually makes moves. Like use your skills as a leader that you've gained from being a military spouse to find a career that works for you but also can
Mhm.
still be involved in what your life is currently going through.
Yep.
I agree. I think sometimes we meet spouses and they feel like they have to stop or halt whatever that dream that they are having. Oh, I'm not going to go back to school because of this, and it's find a way to work it into your life. I know it can be easier said than done, but there
Yep.
are schools and universities and certifications that you can gain access
There's
to.
so much. There's
Right.
so many things out there. And I think that's like, that unexpected growth that you can have as a military spouse,
Yes.
that the things that are open to you that, you may not have done. And then you find that you really enjoy doing those things, like whether it's you join the FRG or you are volunteering for a nonprofit like Deployed
Hmm.
Love or something like that, where you can gather skills that you can then utilize and be like, oh, I really like this. Like maybe I do want to go back to school and do this instead, because going to school for doing something that you're not enjoying just is feeling like it's just, I don't know, like it just feels
A
like
waste.
it's a waste.
Yeah.
It's miserable. Like you're just sitting here going like, oh, I have to log in, and then like you're
Right.
using other excuses like, oh, I'm just tired because I'm solo parenting or anything like that. But a lot of times it comes down to maybe you just don't want to do that, but you're
Right.
doing it because you have it in yourself that this is what I need to do. This is what I need to do
Hmm.
better for my family. And I do think the military opens up so many doors
Well, I was
for,
gonna say we talked about how like if you were to join active duty, that you could pretty much do any job
yeah.
within the military.
Very
But
true.
on the government side, period, on base and
Hmm.
all these jobs exist too, and you don't have to go through the military to get these positions. You can be like, hey, I want to be an accountant, and you can go to school for it. And there's going to be positions on every military base that's government
Exactly.
funded that is easy to move with because they focus on the military spouse, so they know who they're
Mhm.
working with, they know how to transition you, they know the whole process. Now getting those government jobs is a little bit of a process. Your resume has to be really
Right.
professional, like there's a lot, and it takes like a year to get into those positions, but
Yeah.
like, once you're in, it's very portable. And if as long as you're at an installation, those jobs are going to continue to exist and they're going to continue to open up because the last person had to PCS with their husband too. Like
Right.
that position's always going to be there. So like maybe going into these different organizations on base and saying like, hey, these are positions that are regularly open. This is what I should go to school for because I know it's
Mhm.
going to be a position that is portable and will be wherever we go and I can do it.
I mean, I
I
feel
think
like
it's
military spouses in general, like
yeah.
especially our younger spouses, like I mean, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like I went to college, I got a degree. Thinking back, I was like, why did I choose this degree? Like, I knew why I chose it, but at the same time, I was just like, I finished my degree and I was like, yeah, no, I don't really want to do that anymore. Like
Yeah.
I really do like advocacy, and I really do like being a little bit more hands-on and being with people and things like that. So, I was fine just kind of like, I mean, I have a degree. Cool. It's one thing off my like bucket list. It's one thing a lot of my family didn't do, and I have that. But at the same time, I was okay with letting go of that like job of what I wanted to be an epidemiologist. So I wanted to, I mean, great, that would have been a great field to be in
Mhm.
2020, but at the same time I was just like, but I wanted to travel, and I really should have joined the military to do that job, but my parents were like, no, we don't want you to join, all baby girls. It's long line of military. They didn't want anyone to go in it. And then I married military really young, and then that all changed.
And I think you've kind of touched on, even though you went into school for this, like that goes back to being in a part of the military community, changing your perspective. Because
Mhm.
it seems like all three of
Yeah.
us are very big on advocacy. Like
Yeah.
we want to advocate for spouses, but we also, for me at least in my personal journey, it taught me a lot about self-advocacy as well.
Mhm.
I'm speaking up for myself, being a military spouse, because in this community, we're often it could be, keep to yourself or be
Mhm.
quiet, you can do whatever the
I
military
I
wants
will
you to
say there's
do.
been such a huge change in that dynamic,
Yes,
in my opinion. I feel like, back in the day, I mean, even just 10 years ago, like it
right,
was
10
that
years
you
ago.
were FRG meeting and you were like, shh, like you can't say anything. Where now
Yeah,
I'm just like, that is the stupidest stuff I've ever heard. We're not. And the command team's like, okay, Miss Brown. Like,
take
and
it, right.
and I do think that's a really big shift. I do think that obviously there comes like a professionalism. It is like a
Right.
professional setting, things like that. But it comes with, I feel there's a little bit more respect from the service member side for spouses, because either one, they're finally realizing that we do so much for the military community, and we do know the hardships that they don't understand on their end. Like, they have their own hardships, they have their own things they have to worry about, and even though their spouses may be like telling them, they're never truly going to understand what it's like to have, have your service member ripped away from you, and then having to pick up the pieces with kids, with, all these other things. Like, yeah, they have their own thing, but it's a completely different form of chaos on our side. And it's chaos of, making sure that the kids are, surviving and living, and you're taking care of yourself, and you're holding down the fort, and all the other things, all in the mix of just having that second pair of hands ripped from you. And so it's one of those things where, like, a lot of spouses will, the mental and emotional shifts that we go through, that mental shift of having a partner, then not having a partner, then having a partner, then not having a partner. It is a constant shift, and we get a lot out of it. We build resiliency, we build the ability to adapt and stuff like that. But it's is I mean, I feel like emotional burnout for military spouses is so unbelievably great that I do feel like there are a lot of people who are taking notice. Obviously, there's still bad apples out there. It's an organization. There's always going to be those. But I do think that they're starting to listen to see how better support the family unit, because we've heard this 1,000 times. Happy family, happy soldier, strong army, like strong military. Like, if they have a strong unit, then it's good.
Right.
But that co-parenting or that solo parenting aspect of it, we go through emotional and mental shifts so much.
I wonder if the reason that we feel like we are more comfortable to speak up now is more just our seasoning, like us having.
You're saying we've been in it, all of us.
Yeah, I'm thinking back of like my FRG, and the first FRG that I was involved with. Did those older spouses speak up? Probably. And it's maybe that perspective, again, that change of perspective of like, these are just humans. The soldiers are just humans, and I don't give an F about their rank.
Yeah.
I don't care at this point, because I realized I've probably been in the military community more than most of these people have been at this point. And so I have just as much experience, if not more, in how these things work. And so I do feel like I'm okay to speak up for those things. Where I think that, I don't know if it's that the community is listening more, or I'm just like, my F's are gone.
I
think it's the latter, to be honest.
I think it's the latter. I think it's huge, because I mean, I used to be so cautious about what I said, even to people that I knew really, really well within the unit, because I was just like, we were kind of just told, like, you can get your husband in trouble, and you can still get your service member in trouble if you do something really, really dumb. Like, I mean, unfortunately, it is a job, but it's also like they're the property of the United States military. Like, they can get in trouble still. So there are things that you do want to do. Like, I still know who I can talk about certain things and not certain things, but at the same time, like, that I don't give a F about anything. Like, it is there. And I had this conversation with Jeremy the other day about this, because I was just like, I like this entire PCS that we've been going through, and it's a giant shit show. I'm like, we're both like, we've never like, how is this is why they can't keep service members in things, because they have made this whole process of unaccompanied tour to move to Georgia, all this thing, like, just pure chaos. And so, and then we think about it, and there's different, like, all those different forms of that mental load, moving, kids, deployments, trainings, late nights, all of that comes into effect. And I do think that I got to the point with, at least when I was doing FRG back at RAG, that I was just like, no one else is going to say it. I'm going to say it, because someone has to say it. And you might not like and I would start that off. I was like, no one else is going to say it. I'm going to say it. You might not like my answer, but I think you need to hear it. That is horrible for morale. That is not going to go over well. There's a much better way to handle this. And sometimes they listen, and sometimes they'll come back with like a very like, well, this is why it has to be this way this time, but maybe next time we can do it X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, I get it. I'm just telling you right now, you're about to have an influx of calls from spouses saying that
People, yes.
this is not okay. And it is what it is. Like that stigma of we signed up for what we signed up for, but most
No,
of these baby spouses don't know what they're signing up for.
they don't,
I knew what I was
especially.
signing up for, and I'm still like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever been a part of.
Exactly. My husband and I, we always joke around that if it makes sense, the military is not going to do it. Like, they're not going to do the easiest route. What makes sense?
The amount of times I've told Jeremy, like, if a woman planned this would go better. And he's like,
thank you.
If a woman, well, but then at the same time, like, I feel so bad for him right now because he's training our future leaders of the Army right now at the RTC camps. And he's just like, I may actually murder somebody. Just letting you know.
Justin right now too. He's like, the things that these soldiers say.
Yeah. It's like, you can't say that, or don't do that, or oh my goodness.
He's like the crying and like all this, like he's dealt with crying. He has dealt with like he's like, anytime a boy looks their way, they're like, oh God. And I'm like, I'm so sorry you're dealing with this. And I think it's hilarious. And I know it's not funny for you, but it's really funny for me. But but I feel like
it's the COVID, like, high school COVID kids. He says that's
a way to put it. Yeah.
It's got this one question wrong on the test the other day, and he goes, the answer was weight, as in like it weighs a certain amount, but they all put WAIT and got this wrong. It's like they just didn't learn anything in high school. He's like, I just can't.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Well, it's just, I feel like you have to take military life with like a side of like shits and giggles. Like you have to take it.
You have
and
to.
You have to just
crying all the time.
It's like in the moment you can be mad and you can be like, damn it, again. But at the end of the day, like, everything that's happened with us specifically, like, I'm just like, of course it would happen to us. Like, why wouldn't it happen to us? We never get anything easy. Why did we think this time around would be any different? And, even though it's so hard and so crazy, it does feel like this is what we are meant to be here. This is what we're meant to do. This is my husband's meant to do the job he's doing. I am meant to be here providing resource and love and advocacy for military families. That's what fills my bucket. And I'm so privileged and so happy that I get to do that because I, as a military dependent of over 36 years, I have experienced everything from being a kid to from being a teenager through college, through marriage, through childbirth, all of it. I've experienced it, and I can tell you that it's not easy and it is not cut out for everybody. But if you kind of embrace the lifestyle, it can truly be so rewarding. It can bring you so many things that you would have never experienced staying at home in your small town or even a large city. Like, you wouldn't have these experiences. You wouldn't have this community. You wouldn't have that second found family if you weren't in the military community. So like, there's that pros and cons. And I think that's great. And I think that it really, I feel like this is a huge stigma, or not a stigma, but a huge myth. Like, military spouses with their family, or like, a military marriage always ends in divorce, or there's infidelity or something like that. And that is not true. It is probably higher rating compared to our civilian counterparts because there are so many obstacles.
Dynamics.
Many things that just kind of break it apart. And if you don't have a solid foundation and a solid foundation of communication, it could end up falling into that statistic. But at the same time, like, if you choose to like build that relationship with your significant other, it can be really good. I mean, I've been married for 15 years with same person for 20 years. And I mean, we just had a huge fight for 2 weeks about all sorts of things, and like having to kind of recommunicate and re-talk about our wants and needs and our expectations, and going past assumptions and things like that. And that's just part of marriage. It's part of like the isn't changing, but it's something that I feel like we have to do a little bit more often because deployments happen. And so that changes the brain chemistry of our soldiers. It just does.
It does. Yeah.
It changes their outlook on life. It changes their perspective. It changes so many different things, and it changes yours too. Like, I'm never the same after a deployment. I mean, we're getting ready to do this here on a company tour, and I'm like, man, this is going to be a huge change for both of us, because one, it's like a leisure one. Like, he's going to Europe. He gets to live in Europe, and I'm going to be stuck in stinky, hot Georgia. Like, I'm not looking forward to the heat, y'all, if you guys can tell. I'm just not looking forward to the heat. But I think that it's, that change of your relationship, like, my relationship is 100% not the same as it was when we first got married. And it's not even the same as it was 5 years ago. And you have to, adapt and grow with that as well.
Yeah, I think that's important for people to understand, whether they're in the military or not, that things are always going to change. You're not going to be the same person that you were years ago. Hell, you might not be the same person you were a couple weeks ago.
No.
But you have to be going forward with that and even communicating that with your spouse. Like, my husband and I, in the beginning, it was definitely a lot of bumping heads, like, hey, this doesn't make sense. Like, what do you mean we have to move just because, and roll with the punches? But through time, it was having that conversation, giving the heads up of where we may be mentally, where we may be physically, emotionally, all of that, and having those conversations prior to, during, and even after.
Yeah, I think that's so important.
Communication. Yes.
Yeah.
So I think I see that a lot, like with Dustin and I, is we even each other out. So like in this move, there'll be points where I'm like, I don't think we can. I don't know how we're gonna do this. I don't know how these pieces are gonna fall apart. And he'll, in those moments, will be like, hey, it's gonna be fine. This is gonna happen. This is what's gonna happen. But then there'll be points where he's like, did we do this? We shouldn't have done that. And I will step in and be like, it's fine. Like, maybe on the back end in our brains, we're both like, oh my god, this is all going to be a nightmare.
House is on fire. Everything is fine. Everything.
But we're not going to let the other person stress out. Like, we're going to be that balance for the other person also, because we realize in the end, in a year from now, looking back at this, oh well, it'll have been done, and
we made it through it, and we're fine. Yeah,
exactly.
It'll be fine. But like, so I was actually just listening to Pink in the car on the way, dropping everybody off this morning, and her song Turbulence came on, and I was listening to that, and the fact she puts it so well, like, remember why you're on the flight. Like, remember why you're in this relationship. And that's the whole point, is like, hey, we still want to get to point B, which is like retirement and this beautiful life together. But military gives you turbulence. Like, you're going to be so scared. You're going to think
right up into
exactly. No oxygen mask dropping down sometimes, but
like she says, it's just turbulence, you guys. Like, don't give up on your relationship and everything. Like, just because there's scary part, you just have to hold on and figure out how to get through it, because you still got on that flight for the same reason, right? You got married because you wanted a life together. So don't give up in the middle because something got scary.
Yes.
And I love that analogy. I that's definitely my favorite way for us that we've explained how that is the 5 seasons that we have done this. I think that's great. I think that's going to help a lot of people kind of visualize that. And then the only thing that I think I want to add to that is just don't let someone else's turbulence kind of affect your, like, oh, that's going to be us, because it's not. We've preached this on our podcast. Every family is different. Every career is different. There might be some things that are the same, but everything that's happened to me isn't necessarily going to happen to somebody else.
Right.
And even if it's similar, there's still going to be things that are different. And so you have to take like each thing and like you can learn from it. Like, okay, next time maybe we can, maybe we won't do it this way, and we can do it that way. But at the same time, like, it is the unknown when military life is just truly an unknown. You never know how it's going to go, and I always just I've like you said, Reyna, like, at the beginning, even as a military kid, I was just like, this is stupid. There's times I literally told Jeremy a couple weeks ago, I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, why? Like, this makes absolutely no sense. Like, like, come on now. But at the same time, I'm like, I know it's going to work out. Like, I know we're going to be good. We're going to go to Georgia, we're going to, we're going to get a home and all this kind of stuff. We're very excited. We're choosing this to be our first time buying a house. Yes, we're 36 years old and we've never bought a house.
Right there with you.
And that's okay. There are things that you may not get to experience. There are things that you get to experience. We just made the choice not to buy a house. And, you know, even though we may only be at Benning for 2 years, maybe we were like, well, let's buy a house. Cause like, we can, you know, one of our things is our home is our safe space. Like we spend a lot of time at home. We do a lot of things. And so we're like we were finally like, well, if we buy a house, we can make it what we want it. We don't have to like not do things because it's a rental. And so even if we're in it for 2 years, that's fine. We can either rent it out, we can sell it, however the case may be, but we can make it our own. We can make it ours and not feel like we're just stuck.
Yeah.
And there are ways to, you know, make a rental your home and things like that. But, you know, peelable wallpaper and things like that. Like you can totally do those things to make it your vibe. But at the same time, we were both like, we're almost 40. Maybe we should buy a house, like maybe once before we like during our time is in the service. But
the VA loans are so easy to use. Like Justin and I are talking about, you know, like buying in New Mexico too, just because you do get a max of like $650,000. So like you could have 2 houses, and we do own a house in North Carolina that we rent, and it's actually a pretty good idea. We come to learn that because we make profit off of that house while it's just sitting there paying our mortgage off, and we still have enough money on our VA loan to buy another house and still live in it. So like that's a really cool benefit, and I don't think people know that. I think that they're like, oh, well, I have a house. You could have up to 3
multiple.
I think like the best advice for that just kind of is just talk to a realtor, talk to a lender, and just be like, how does this work? I mean, obviously you have to make sure you have good credit and things like that. I mean, that was kind of our issue as a younger family. We just didn't have the best credit because we didn't make the best decisions when we were younger. But, you know, it is what it is. Like, I feel like that's just kind of a motto. Like, it is what it is, and we move forward and we make better choices. But there are still like there's so many organizations out there nowadays that have so much tips and tricks and advice on how to move and how to buy a house as military families that you can. I mean, if you Google like blogs about buying a house at each duty station and things like that, I'm sure you can find something.
Yes.
So, but yeah, so we talked about perspective changing. We talked a little bit about relationship shifts, talked about unexpected growths. Let's talk about what I've lost versus what I've gained. Like we've talked a little bit about that, but let's dig into that a little bit more about, I think one of the biggest things is friendships. I think that's something that I feel like I gain a lot of, but I feel like there are some that I've lost over the time because we just move and we lose contact and things like that. But I do know that there are times where like those individuals like I can call and be like, hey, I need your help, and they're going to be there. But I do feel
I have learned how to make better friendships, like better relationships, connections that are like stronger. I feel like when I was in high school, I didn't have friends. Like that's the epitome story, but like I didn't. We moved there right before high school started. I was there from 8th grade, and it was a really tiny town. So they all grew up together, and I just didn't fit in. I came from the city, and they were in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska. Like I was not their person, and that's fine. And it was really hard though, but because mentally I have had this block of like, I just can't make friends. Like I am not a person people want to be friends with. And then when I joined the military and realized there's this community that we all had so much in common, and I can make friends instantly. Like I am actually really super sad to move from this location. We've only been here for 5 months, but I made like really, really close friends in 5 months here that I'm like, dang, it's going to suck to walk away from this. And I was just telling them in a text the other day, like, hey, just so you guys know, like, I don't know if I'll even be able to see you guys because we have literally 2 weeks and we're out. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
And it's super busy. And I was like, and I'm really sad, but you guys have made it home. Like, I really love this location.
Yeah.
For this short of a time, it's crazy to me because in Germany, it didn't have that connection with people. But here, it's just like instant. Like, they were like my friends. And I do feel like I've learned how to make those friends and how to make like find the right ones quicker because I know who my community is, and especially learning a lot about myself too, like with a neurodivergent, I realized I'm not going to fight the fight to hang out with neurotypical people because I know that I don't fit what they want. And I immediately, if I catch that, I'm like, oh, that's not going to be my person. Like I know that I talk too much or I'm too whatever. for these people, and then I just immediately like walk away from that group and move on to fighting someone else. And so that makes it a lot quicker to be like, oh, these are my people, and immediately realize that.
I think for me, like it was very crucial in making those genuine connections. And it's interesting that you said while you were over in Germany, you didn't feel like you made as many as you do where you currently are located. I thought mine was the complete opposite. Mine was in Florida, I didn't make as many connections the first go around, but when I went to Japan, I met a whole community and
So my
I
first
still
time
have
in
those
Germany,
relationships.
I made
Yeah.
friends really easily. The second time, I think
Yeah.
it's the location. So Stuttgart is a lot more high ranking
Mhm.
officer
I
wise,
do
and
think
I
that a
just
lot has
ended
to
there for
go.
community. Like that's all
Yeah, that makes sense.
there to travel.
Yeah. I think
Yeah, I think
so
a
for
lot
me,
has to do with location for
yes.
sure.
Agreed. I think the smaller the base or installation is, at least in my experience, it has been easier to build a community versus the larger installations. It's too many people, too much going on sometimes. But I would say for people, and this is for all military spouses, if you build those relationships and you are reaching out to them, staying in contact with them on Facebook, have those virtual get togethers. That will help you
Yeah.
be seen because you're sitting there and you're like, no one else knows what I'm going through, but you know what I'm going through. And I do coffee chats with some of my friends. I do wine nights with some of my friends virtually because that's something we used to do in person. And so now
Yeah.
we take it over to the camera and
Well, I think
share.
like going through this together, because I mean, once again, like we all go through similar things. So like, even like you may be struggling, your friend may be doing that too, and they may need that. Like, hey, like let's jump
Yeah.
on a call. Let's just jump on Zoom. Let's jump on FaceTime or whatever, and have just that time to chat and things like that. And you never know. Like we're going to Benning, and one of my really good friends from Bragg is at Benning, and that was one of my like deciding factors of going ahead to move now. Was like, okay, well, Courtney's there. Like my friend's down there. I have someone down there that I connect with, and we do things together, and our kids get along well and things like that. But that I think Brady said something about that sense of home, and I think a lot of our spouses struggle with losing what they feel like is their home. Like when they move, they lose that sense, and then having to find that home. For me, like this is all I've known. So like I'm currently at a location where it's not a military community, and I feel so out of place. I feel
Mhm.
like I'm not at home, even though we absolutely love where we live, like in terms of like the location and what's available to us and things like that. It doesn't feel like home. And
Mhm.
I think a lot has to do with the fact that I'm just not surrounded by like-minded or individuals who are going through similar things. But and then at the same time, I feel like it has started to become home, but not
Mhm.
enough for me to stay. Like I feel like if we stayed, it would feel like home. I've made a little bit more friendships and connections, but at the same time, it hasn't sunk in that is like, oh, this is a good spot for us. I
Yeah.
mean, it wasn't a good spot for us. I was becoming very depressed, things like that. But at the same time, who knows? Benning probably isn't going to feel like home to me either. But at the same time, I'll at least be able to,
Well, that's
make.
that keeping those friendships, keeping in connection
Yeah.
is so important. Like Ashley and I weren't like super, super close friends before I moved to Germany and all that, but I feel like because we talk every single week
Mhm.
like this, every single week, we've grown because we are having a connection. And she knows more about my life than probably almost everybody because I don't post
Mhm.
anything on social media. So like
Yeah.
not very many people know that we're moving, even know
I
that.
was gonna say like same thing for you. Like I feel like we get to actually sit down and just talk
Mhm.
without the expectations of anything else
Yeah,
other
and then
than
we
just
have
being there for each
friendships
other.
so that if you keep them, it's super important because we're moving, right? And so I have a friend who's stationed in El Paso who is so excited. She's like, "You're gonna be 30 minutes from our house. Like we can hang out again." And it's
Yeah.
so exciting to just be able to pick up and we're back to this friendship. And I
Yeah.
haven't seen her in 11 years. Like we are gonna be able to just pick up and be friends again. And she's been filling me in on everything that I need to know about the area. And it's nice because though her and I weren't close, we didn't talk all the time on Facebook, but we had each other on Facebook. So she knows what my kids are up to. Like we all kind of know what's going on in each other's lives. So now I was like, hey, I know you're still there. Let's pick up, and now we can just pick up where we were. So it's really cool.
That's the similar thing. I have a really good friend from high school who lives down in Benny, and I actually messaged her the other day, and I was just like, "Hey, you're still in the area, right?" And she's like, "Yeah." And we chat, we quickly chat, but I haven't seen her since Jeremy was in basic training, which was
Wow.
17 years ago, but we stay connected on Facebook and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
I'm very excited to reconnect with her. Do I think that we'll probably be like best friends like we were in high school? Probably not. We're both like different lifestyles, different things like that. But I'm genuinely really excited to reconnect with her. And her son's the same age as Devlin. So, or like a year older than Devlin. So like, there's, we can have play dates and things like that. And I'm really excited to have another person down there that I can reconnect with. But I think that's what's really cool about the military is that even if you make a friendship or you make an acquaintance and then maybe you're not that great of a friend beforehand, but you meet up at a different location,
Mhm.
may blossom into a better friendship, or you may decide that I don't like that friendship. It's okay. I feel like,
Yes.
finding your sense of home in each location, like it's tough to do each time,
Yeah.
but it does make life so much better when you have at least one person in
One.
your
Yeah.
one person can make life. I mean, Sabrina's been my saving grace, like here in Virginia, and she's half
Mhm.
across the country. So,
Mhm.
sometimes that one person is someone virtual.
Yes, I have a similar story. One of my friends, I met her in Japan. Her name's Vicky, and it was same thing. Cordial, kind of mutual friends. We saw each other every once in a while, but we didn't really hang out. And then when we relocated to Key West, I found out that they were here in Key West as well. So like we hang out all the time. We go shopping, we get to know each other, and that's that person that's like, okay, this gives me a little bit of that community I need. But I think for spouses, like if you are not maybe that extrovert initially or in the beginning, maybe try putting yourself out there and go to like a Zumba class or something different
Find
where,
something you enjoy doing. Yeah.
yes, you're in your own little box, but you're dancing or something. And just like that, you can meet other people in your community and help it to feel like home a little
Yeah.
bit through
That's
time.
such good advice. Like the very first thing when I found out we made the decision to actually move to Benning was, are there book clubs? Is there
Yes.
someone who likes books that I can connect with? Because like most of the time, like, okay, like if I can find someone who likes similar books as me, then we
Hmm.
at least have one thing other than being a military spouse that we can connect on. And then maybe that can be a friendship. But that's like, I was like, that's one way I can meet people
But you
outside.
really have to just step out of your boundaries, and
Yes.
it sucks. But that's the part of being a military spouse. Like, I hate talking to strangers, but I know that with every move, the longer I take to put myself out there, the
Mhm.
worse and worse I feel because I'm sitting there at home and I'm sad and I'm just like,
Yeah.
no, just go do something with
Yes.
somebody.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, like, so you've lost a lot of things, but in the process, you gain a sisterhood or a family. You're gaining a deeper self knowledge. I feel like because we're all learning something about ourselves each move. We're all learning what we're capable of. We are willing to do and things like that. So like, there is that sense of loss, everybody, but at the same time, like you're gaining something when you're losing something. Like I feel like it's never just a take. There's something coming in, and if you're having a hard time figuring out what is given to you, reach out to us. I mean, we can powwow it out like we're doing right now and like be
Yeah.
like this. But you just said this like multiple times, like I feel like I can handle anything. Well, you just gained all this resiliency and you gain this like self-awareness of like I feel like I can handle anything that's thrown my way. And
Mhm.
sometimes it just takes an outside perspective of, oh, you can do these things. You just said it yourself, but maybe you just haven't realized it yet.
Well,
Yes.
I
And
think
I
you're
think in
talking
some
about
instances, oh, go
with
ahead.
loss, though, for me is the one thing that I feel like I've lost is my family, like my
Yeah.
actual family. I don't have the connection with them. But as it gives me this really interesting perspective on my family
Yeah.
and realizing that I think, at least in my family's dynamic, it comes with a lot of guilt and a lot of
Mhm.
like everybody's guilting you for not doing things. Where my friends and my found family aren't like that. They're very understanding. They've been through the same things and like I it's sad that I don't have the close of relationship and I see like my sisters and the way that they get to hang out with my parents and they have that relationship, but I don't have it. And I don't care as much as I
Mhm.
thought I would
I feel like
because
that's
I
something
see
that
it and
I
I
would have
hear
gotten
their
over.
stories and it's just like it is toxic and maybe it's just my family. I know it's not everybody's family, but like it's so much more of an expectation than my found family. Where my found family is like I found you where we are, I see where you're at, and I
Yep.
love you through it. Where my family,
Exactly.
you never come visit and you don't do that. It's there's so much expectation.
I I agree. And I also think that's just something we've learned as we gotten older, because like I know I struggled with that so much as like even just like 8 years ago or something like that. I struggled, but then I got to the point where I was just like, I'm so like, why am I putting all this effort into visiting and doing all these other things? And thankfully we have a really good, I mean, like Jeremy's parents, even though our relationships are started off really, really rocky, we like now I'm just like I told my mom, I was like, we go there because they spend time with us when we go there. Like they don't like I got here the other day and my mom left for the whole night. And I'm like, okay. like like but yeah, I that grief is okay to feel. Like I feel like a lot of people kind of don't feel that grief. And we talked about that on a recent podcast as well, about that grief of not having your family, or the grief of losing yourself and your family's dynamic. But you definitely have to just, I don't know, again, take it day by day and do what's best for you. If your found family is what makes you guys happy, is what you guys look forward to doing, then do things with your family, and don't worry about what your family is saying, especially if you feel like they have those toxic tendencies and tripping, but then they don't make the effort as well. Yeah, and I think that's set that expectation. Set that expectation, set that boundary, and tell them, "Look, we visited you the last 4 years. You wanna see us, you need to come see us, and if there's an issue, then there's an issue with them and not you." I got to the point where I got so sick of using all of our leave to go visit family, and I'm like, we've never been on a vacation, just that. I mean, we've gone to like maybe down to the beach for like a day or two, but we've never gone on like full blown vacation somewhere cool. We've never done that. We didn't even do a honeymoon. And I mean, we've been married 15 years, and I'm like, this upcoming year when Jeremy's in Poland, I was like, I told everybody, I was like, don't expect us to be anywhere. Our trips are going to be overseas. You're more than welcome to come along with us, but don't expect us to be there for Thanksgiving or Christmas, because we may not be even in country at this
And I
point.
don't know why is there such an expectation that because we were raised in an area, like that's where they chose to settle, that we should be expected to settle there. Like why, and it's not even just military, like it's any family member who moves away from the area you grew
Yeah,
up is expected to come back. It's like why are we the ones that are expected to do that? Like I don't understand, why should we have to be expected to live in the same area just because you chose that as your home? That's
yeah.
crazy. I never want my kids to think that. I want them to be like, I love Japan. I'm going to Japan. Like, I want them to pick what they want to do with their life and not expect them to be like, well, you should come back and visit. You need to come back home. It's like, that's not my home anymore.
Yeah. Mhm. I understand like the family side, because like, okay, so like if you've listened to the podcast, you guys have heard like my dad decided that he is moving to Thailand, and I for a while was pretty mad because I felt like his reasonings were very selfish, and that he was running away from problems, and that I was just like, you're choosing to once again not be a part of our lives and your grandkids' lives. And so I got really mad with him. And then finally I was just like, I don't, he called me like a while ago after his sister got into it with him. And I was like, Dad, I don't really care. Like, it's your life. If that's what you want to do and you don't want to get to know your grandkids, that's on you. That's not on me. I was like, we might be able to visit you, but visiting Thailand is going to be like once. Unless I was like, unless you're planning to pay for these flights multiple times, like that, you have to understand that that is the only thing that's going to happen. Like, I was like, I can't afford flights to Thailand for 4 people. Like that's your choice, and if that's your choice, that's on you. Good for you. Go live your life in Thailand. You know, but I also kind of at the same time, like that was brought up at the same time, I kind of let that go for so long about him being in my life because he hasn't really been a part of my life since I graduated high school. And so over 20 years ago, so like I never really, I mean, since graduating high school, I think I've seen him like 4 times in 20 years. And not because of me, I took the time to drive down and see him and things like that. All 4 times were because of me, because I went to see him. I made the effort. And so I was like, that my kids know who loves them and who takes the time to visit them and things like that. And it took me a really long time, y'all, to like decide that. And so I love my dad and I'm happy that he's having a great life. But at the same time, I was just like, that's your choice. That's not my choice. I would love for you to get to know your grandkids, but at the same time, they have so many people in their lives that love them, whether it's blood family or a found family. Yeah. Well, I know. Well, I think that's like a great thing for military families that we learned is that blood family isn't always everything. And I think that's something that as military families we learn that and we have a very different look on life and the outlook of everything because we've learned that over the years. And our families, especially if they have not, well, I say even if they don't have military experience, but I feel like even some families with military experience, they still are like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, you were in the military. Like, how do you not remember anything? They just don't have the same perspective. One, they don't understand that sometimes we don't have a choice. Sometimes we don't have a choice. Like right now, do I want to go to Georgia and Jeremy go to Poland? Absolutely not. Like I don't. I would love to go to Poland with him, but that's not in our cards right now. And my mom's just like, well, why are you moving to Georgia? Like, why don't you move up here? I'm like, I don't want to move up here for a year and then move again. Like do you not remember how hard it was on me as a kid moving all the time? Like, I'm not doing that to my kids. Like, I'm making the choice to move us down there so we can be in one place for a period of time. But I think like that's also with us, like we as military families, we're able to let go of control and expectations a little bit better than our families. I feel like sometimes it takes us a really long time to learn that. And sometimes it's really hard for us. I mean, I know it's very hard for me to give up control, y'all. Like I like to be in charge.
I control any situation I can.
I like it. But you know what? Sometimes you have to give up control so that things move smoothly. Things can go the way they're meant to be. And sometimes you have to just have faith, have grace, have just be in the moment and just survive because sometimes that's all we can do is just survive. And military spouses do that amazingly, but a lot of it comes down to it is having a support system, having someone that you can be like, I just get a glass of wine and come to me because it it can be very hard, it can be very very lonely, but grab that control when you can, but also know that you have to have some give at other times. Yes. Mhm. Or or even we feel like we don't deserve it or we have the time for it. And there's so many things that you can do for self-care. Like you don't have to physically go out and go get your nail done or things like that. I mean, there's so many things you can do at home for self-care. Like one of mine is I take a bubble bath. Like I will grab my book and I'm like shut the door. I tell my kids, do not come bother me for 20 minutes. I want to just light a candle, read my book. And some people are like, ew, baths. But like, look, I'm not cleaning in a bath. I take a shower afterwards, but I'm like, at least just like hot tubbing it up in my bathroom when I don't actually have one. And, that is just sticking on my headphone and going for a walk around the neighborhood. My kids are old enough to stay at home while I walk the neighborhood, that putting my headphones on and listening to a book and going for a walk and just getting out of the space that I need to be is so important. I know
Yeah, my
Sabrina does
self
walk
care
a lot.
is definitely really loud music in the car and
Mhm.
journaling. So like the other day when we got the news that it was like 2 week turnaround, I was like, oh my fucking God. And the kids wanted to tap in the car. I was like, no, we're listening to this and I don't want to hear you today. I was like, we're dropping you off at camp. Mom needs to just get out of her head and not think about it for the moment. And then I have one journal, and it's been for every one of our chaotic moves, basically, where I bitch the fuck out on it. And I whine and I complain and I
Finding it.
write all my mad, angry thoughts. And then that's it. Then I'm done. And then I get to planning and getting things figured out.
I feel like I need to get a punching bag. Like, I feel like I need something where I can get the aggression out. I was thinking the other day, I was like, I need some form of like way to get like, because I'm like, oh, let's go to like a smash room or something, or axe throwing. But I was like, man, no, I feel like right now I'm gonna need one of those. Like, I just need to like kick something.
You can get it all out.
You know what? Like, sometimes you just need to let it out, y'all. Like, just let it explode. I end up just screaming in a pillow. That's typically what I do, like, just to kind of get that, like, exertion out. Like, and so me and I've started making it where, like, okay, we're gonna do, like, all of us will grab a pillow, and I'm like, are you ready? Like, scream as loud as you can, and we'll just scream. And the kids think it's hilarious, but at the same time, I'm like, this is just so, yes. Like, let's just get it out. But yeah, I think, like, there's so unknown, everybody, and you go through so many changes, whether it's good or bad, that it you have to take everything day by day. And looking back on things that I'm like, oh, I should have done that differently. You know what? I didn't do it differently, but again, it shaped me to who I am today. And that is the what you have to do. You just have to look at how it's affecting you and shaping you and your family dynamics, your relationship dynamics, your whether it's romantic or friendship relationships. And just, again, I feel like survive is such a harsh word to use, but like, just make it through the day knowing that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Like, that's my biggest thing, is like, the military lifestyle is not forever. It's a very short amount of time, even if you're a career service member. I mean, I feel like we've been in the military for so long, and we have been, but at the same time, I'm like, we still have so much life to go after our military journey, that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And that's what I'm telling myself right now. Like, this is going to suck. We have a year of suck ahead of us. But once we get past that year, then we only have a few more years until he hits his 20, or until he gets out. So he'll probably go after 20, but I know that there's an end at the tunnel. And then after that, it's going to be pure chaos, because what are we going to do? We don't know any friends from the military. He grew up military. I grew up military. What are we going to do outside of the military community? That's what's scaring me. I'm more terrified of getting out of the service than staying in the service, y'all. And that's just, that's why some people just stay in. To be honest, I know some people, I'm like, why do you go so long? Or they go into contracting afterwards, because it's still a safeness. It's home. And if that's not your home, then that's okay. Do your 4 years and get those benefits, boo. Like, that's okay. Like, have that. Utilize all of those resources. I mean, like, my CAA, all these things that you can use, like, utilize them. Even if you're like, oh, I'm not going to use them because we're not a career.
Might
Like, I
as
should
well.
that.
Even if you just take fun art classes, just do
Just
something with
do
it.
something with it. I mean, that's free. You use it in some form of way. I mean, I'm so excited they actually changed like, it's now up to E8 for my CAA. That's amazing, because like I'm like, oh, what can I go use it as now? like now I get to use it again. Like I haven't been able to use it in like 4 years, and I didn't use it as a baby spouse because I didn't take my own advice, y'all, and utilize the things. I was like, oh, I have a college degree. I don't need to use it. I'm in no. I'm like, oh, I should have totally used that for something cooler, like or use certification or anything like that. But yeah, it's just life is crazy in the military. We all know that, and we're gonna change. But we're human. That's what we do. That is what we do. No matter if you're military or not, you are changing. You're constantly growing. Some of your experience are going to change that. And it might speed up the process, but as long as you have that solid foundation at home, a solid friend group, military life won't be as big of a struggle. I feel that in my bones. Like if you have a community, and I think that's why we advocate, all of us advocate, is because if you have that community, it makes life just a little bit more sweeter.
Well, Reyna, as we get to the end of the episode, we like to ask what your best piece of advice would be for a military spouse.
Love that.
Yeah, I do love that. I think we had a guest recently that she was like, your voice is just as important as the active duty member, and you can use it and do the things that need to get done. So that's why we all advocate. That's why we all are part of the community and why we care. And that's why we have our podcasts. And speaking of, we're ending this one, but if you can't get enough, you can go over to Reyna's podcast and you should be able to hear us over there too. And all of her information will be in the show notes so that you guys can get access to all of that as well. And I hope you enjoyed the episode. And like we like to say at the end, Ruck Up Buttercup.
Bye, everybody.